I am Camila, 34, and literally last weekend my role as the family's anchor? Yeah, it totally backfired. The fragile piece I'd worked my butt off to keep solid, it blew up into a full-on family meltdown at Maya's baby shower. My sister Maya, the family's golden child, straight up demanded I plaster on a smile and play along with her perfect life narrative, and when I pushed back, the room went dead silent. "You're embarrassing us all," Maya hissed, with everyone staring like I'd just set the table on fire. But here's the tea: their shade didn't break me, it lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. A quick note: this story is copyrighted by the YouTube channel Guest Stories. Reposting, revoicing, or editing this content without permission constitutes copyright infringement. Thank you for respecting original creative work. Now, back to the story. For as long as I can remember, I've been the odd one out in my family, the one who didn't fit the mold they so carefully crafted. My name's Camila, a single mom to my incredible 12-year-old son Jackson, and I've spent years trying to hold our family together, despite their constant judgment. Growing up, I was the dreamer, the one who'd rather sketch in a notebook than follow the path laid out for me: college, marriage, kids, in that order. My parents, my aunts, my cousins, they all had this unspoken rule: stick to the script, and you're one of us. Stray, and you're invisible. I strayed. I got pregnant at 21, chose to raise Jackson alone, and suddenly I was the cautionary tale whispered about at family gatherings. Last weekend, though, everything changed. Maya's baby shower was supposed to be another one of those events where I grit my teeth, nod politely, and let their comments slide. Maya, my younger sister by 3 years, has always been their pride and joy. Perfect husband, perfect house, perfect life. The shower was at her sprawling suburban home, all pastel balloons and catered hors d'oeuvres, with our extended family buzzing around her like she was royalty. I walked in with Jackson, my heart already heavy, knowing I'd be measured against her, and found wanting. Again. I adjusted my simple navy dress, smoothing it over my hips as I stepped into the backyard. The air smelled of jasmine and grilled appetizers, and laughter floated over the perfectly manicured lawn. Jackson, in his slightly too short khakis, clung to my side, his eyes scanning the crowd warily. He's always been my shadow, picking up on my tension like a sixth sense. "You okay, Mom?" he whispered, squeezing my hand. I forced a smile. "Always, kiddo." But I wasn't okay. The moment we arrived, I felt the familiar weight of their gazes. My mother's pursed lips, my aunt's raised eyebrow, my cousin's quick glances before they turned back to Maya. She stood in the center of it all, glowing in a white lace dress, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. Her husband David was by her side, all charm and polished smiles, handing out drinks like he was running for mayor. Everyone adored him. Everyone adored her. And me? I was the one they tolerated, the one they pitied for not having a husband, a stable life. It started small, as it always does. My mother pulled me aside by the dessert table, her voice low but sharp. "Camila, you could have at least worn something more festive." Her eyes flicked over my dress like it was an insult to the occasion. I bit my tongue, resisting the urge to point out that I'd spent my last paycheck on Jackson's school supplies, not a new wardrobe. Then my cousin Lisa chimed in, loud enough for others to hear. "Maya's so lucky to have David. It must be hard for you, Camila, doing it all alone." Her smile was all teeth, no warmth. I clenched my fists behind my back, nails digging into my palms. Jackson, standing a few feet away, caught my eye, his brow furrowing. He knew that look, the one that said I was swallowing another jab to keep the peace. I've done it for years for his sake, to give him a family even if it meant enduring their condescension. But something about that day felt different. The air was heavier, the stakes higher. Maybe it was the way Maya kept glancing at me, her smile too smug, too knowing, like she was waiting for me to crack. As the afternoon wore on, the comments piled up. My uncle asked why I hadn't settled down yet, as if Jackson and I weren't a complete family. My aunt wondered aloud if I was still struggling with my job as a freelance graphic designer, ignoring that I'd built a steady client base from nothing. Each remark was a pebble, small but sharp, adding to the weight I'd carried for years. I kept my head high, sipping my lemonade, forcing laughs, but inside I was fraying. Then Maya took the stage, literally. She stood on a small platform in the backyard, microphone in hand, thanking everyone for coming. Her voice was syrupy sweet, her eyes gleaming with self-assurance. "I just feel so blessed," she said, one hand on her belly, the other gesturing to David. "Family means everything, and I'm so grateful for all of you. Well, most of you." The crowd laughed, thinking it was a joke, but her eyes locked on mine, and I felt the sting. It wasn't a joke. It was a warning. Jackson shifted closer to me, his shoulder brushing mine. I could feel his tension, his need to protect me, even at 12. My heart ached for him, caught in this family's warped dynamic. I wanted to leave, to grab his hand and walk out, but I stayed. I always stayed. Until that moment, I didn't realize how close I was to breaking, or how close we were to everything changing. As Maya's words hung in the air, that smug, "most of you," still echoing in my ears, I felt a wave of memories crash over me, pulling me back to all the times I'd been made to feel like an outsider in my own family. It wasn't just today, it was a pattern etched into my life, starting from when Jackson was born. I stood there, frozen by the platform, my lemonade glass slick in my hand from the condensation, or maybe from my palms sweating. Jackson tugged at my sleeve, his voice a quiet anchor. "Mom, let's go sit down." But I couldn't move yet. My mind was replaying those moments, the ones where my efforts as a single mom were dismissed like they didn't count, while Maya's every step was celebrated as if she'd invented perfection. Take the day Jackson turned 5. It was his birthday party, a small thing I threw in our tiny apartment backyard, balloons tied to the fence, a homemade cake I'd baked after pulling an all-nighter on a design project to afford the ingredients. I'd invited the family, hoping for once they'd see how hard I worked to give him a good life. Mom showed up late, her arms full of gifts for Maya, who wasn't even there yet. "Camila, this is quaint," she said, her eyes scanning the mismatched chairs and the store-brand chips. She didn't notice how I'd saved for weeks to rent a bounce house, or how Jackson's face lit up when he saw it. Instead, she pulled out her phone to show photos of Maya's recent promotion at her corporate job. "Look at your sister. Climbing the ladder, married to David, stable as can be. You could learn from her." I remember clenching the cake knife so hard my knuckles whitened, forcing a smile as I cut slices for everyone. "Thanks, Mom. But today's about Jackson." She waved it off, turning to my aunts who nodded along. "Of course, dear, but stability matters. Maya's got it all figured out." They spent the rest of the party gushing over Maya's life, her wedding photos from 2 years prior, her spotless home, how David doted on her. My achievement, raising a happy, healthy kid on my own while freelancing to keep the lights on? It went unmentioned. Jackson, sensing the shift, stuck close to me, his little hand in mine as he blew out his candles. I whispered to him, "This is your day, buddy," but inside it burned, the way they erased me. Or the time I landed my first big client, a local business that paid enough for me to enroll Jackson in soccer. I was so proud. I'd pitched designs late into the nights, revising until my eyes blurred, all while helping him with homework and making sure he ate something besides cereal. I shared the news at a family dinner, my voice excited as I passed around my portfolio. "This could be a game changer for us," I said, looking around the table. Dad grunted, barely glancing up from his plate. "That's nice, Camila. But did you hear? Maya and David just bought a house, 3 bedrooms, backyard for kids someday." The conversation veered straight to them. My aunts, cooing over paint swatches Maya had texted. I sat there, my portfolio forgotten on the sideboard, feeling my chest tighten. Jackson, only 8 then, piped up. "Mom's designs are awesome. She made the logo for that coffee shop we like." Bless him, but they chuckled indulgently. Like it was cute he was defending me. "Sure, kid," my uncle said, ruffling his hair. "But real success is building a family the right way, like your Aunt Maya." I avoided eye contact, stirring my food around my plate, the fork scraping louder in my head than it should have. Why did my wins always get overshadowed? I'd sacrifice sleep, dates, everything to be there for Jackson, turning down jobs that required travel so I wouldn't miss his school events. Yet Maya, with her husband to share the load, was the hero. Her pregnancies were announced with fanfare. Mine was a mistake, they whispered. Even simple things like when I volunteered at Jackson's school and got recognized by the PTA. Nothing. But Maya's bake sale contribution? Endless praise. And it wasn't just the big moments, it was the everyday slights that piled up. Holidays where I'd show up with dishes I'd slaved over, only for them to rave about Maya's store-bought pie because she's so busy with her perfect life. Phone calls where Mom asked about Jackson but slipped in, "If only you had a man like David to help." I'd hang up, my throat tight, staring at the wall while Jackson played nearby, oblivious. But he wasn't always oblivious. Once, after a particularly rough Easter where they grilled me about my choices, he asked, "Why do they like Aunt Maya more?" I hugged him, blinking back tears. "They don't, sweetie, they just see things differently." Back at the shower, those memories fueled the fire in my gut. Maya was still talking, listing her blessings, her career, her home, David. The family applauded, their faces beaming. I shifted my weight, my heels sinking into the grass, wishing I could disappear. Jackson leaned in. "They're doing it again, aren't they?" His voice was small, but his eyes were sharp. I nodded subtly, my heart twisting. How many times had I let this happen? Endured it for family unity? But unity felt one-sided, like I was the only one bending. As the applause died down, Maya caught my eye again, her smile sharpening. She raised her glass in a toast, but it felt aimed at me. To family. The ones who make the right choices. Laughter rippled through the crowd. My face burned, my fingers trembling around my glass. I wanted to speak up, to list every sacrifice I'd made, every milestone they'd ignored. But I stayed silent, as always, the invisible one. Little did I know, the secret simmering beneath it all was about to make me seen, whether I wanted it or not. As Maya's toast lingered in the air, the laughter fading into murmurs, I felt that familiar knot in my stomach tighten, the one that always formed when their words cut too deep. I set my glass down on a nearby table, the clink louder than intended, drawing a few glances. Jackson's hand slipped into mine, his fingers cool and steady, grounding me. But my mind was already drifting back to the moment everything shifted, the day I stumbled upon the secret that had been festering like a hidden wound. It wasn't something I sought out. It crashed into my life uninvited, forcing me to carry its weight alone. That aha instant, replayed in my head now, vivid as if it were happening again, right there amid the baby shower's forced cheer. It was about 6 months ago, a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I'd just picked Jackson up from school, his backpack slung over one shoulder, mud on his sneakers from recess. We were driving home in my old sedan, the wipers swishing rhythmically, when he casually mentioned something that made my blood run cold. "Mom, I saw Uncle David at the park yesterday," he said, fiddling with his shoelace. I glanced at him in the rearview mirror, my hands gripping the steering wheel a bit tighter. "What do you mean with Aunt Maya?" Jackson shook his head, his brow furrowing as he recalled. "No, he was with some lady and a little girl. They were laughing, and he called the girl sweetie like he does with me sometimes." My foot eased off the gas, the car slowing as my mind raced. David? With another woman and a child? It didn't make sense. Maya and David were the picture-perfect couple. High school sweethearts, married for 8 years, no kids yet until this pregnancy. I pulled over to the side of the road, rain pattering on the roof, and turned to face Jackson. "Tell me exactly what you saw, buddy, every detail." He described it, the park near his soccer practice, David pushing a swing for a toddler who looked about 4, the woman, brunette, smiling, handing him a coffee. Jackson had waved, but David hadn't noticed him, too wrapped up in the moment. "It looked like a family, Mom," Jackson added, his voice uncertain, like he knew it was off but couldn't place why. I sat there, engine idling, staring out at the blurred windshield. My heart pounded in my ears, a mix of shock and disbelief. David, the man my family idolized, living a double life? I clenched the wheel, knuckles whitening, as fragments clicked into place. His frequent business trips, Maya's offhand comments about him working late, the way he'd sometimes dodge family events with vague excuses. But proof? This was just a kid's observation. I couldn't accuse without more. "Maybe it was a friend," I muttered, more to myself than Jackson. He shrugged, popping in his earbuds for the rest of the drive. But I couldn't shake it. That night, after tucking him in, I paced our living room, the floor creaking under my bare feet. Should I tell Maya? Confront David? Or stay out of it, like I'd stayed silent through years of their judgment? The struggle started then, intense and all-consuming. I didn't sleep that night, lying in bed with the rain drumming on the window, my mind spinning scenarios. If I spoke up, it could shatter Maya. Pregnant now, though she hadn't announced it yet. And the family? They'd blame me, the messenger, for ruining their idol. Camila stirring drama again, I'd hear. But keeping it hidden felt like betrayal, especially to Jackson, who'd seen it firsthand. The next day I called in sick to work. My voice shaky over the phone. I needed to know more. I drove to that park, parking across the street, feeling like a spy in my own life. I sat there for hours, sipping cold coffee, watching families come and go. Nothing. But on the third day, there they were. David, the woman, and the little girl, picnicking under a tree. I snapped photos from my car, my hands trembling on the phone, zooming in on their faces. The girl had David's eyes, unmistakable. Confirmation hit like a punch. I drove home in a daze, pulling into the driveway and resting my forehead on the wheel. Tears came then, hot and unexpected. Not for Maya, not yet, but for the hypocrisy of it all. My family had paraded David as the ideal, the reason Maya was better than me, while shaming me for being single. And here he was, with a secret family, probably for years. I scrolled through the photos, deleting and undeleting them, my thumb hovering. The struggle deepened. Protect the facade, or expose the truth. I chose silence, for Jackson's sake. He was close to his cousins, to the family. Blowing it up would hurt him most, so I buried it, locking my phone in a drawer that night, as if that could contain it. But the emotional weight grew heavier each day. I'd see Maya at family lunches, her hand in David's, and my stomach would churn. I'd avoid his gaze, busying myself with plates or small talk, my smiles forced, lips pressed, thin. Jackson noticed, asking once, "Why don't you like Uncle David anymore?" I ruffled his hair, dodging, "Just tired, kiddo." Inside, it ate at me. The lies, the double standard. My mistake was public, judged endlessly, while David's was hidden, allowing him hero status. I journaled late nights, scribbling furious thoughts, tearing pages when it got too raw. The secret became my project in a way, building walls around it, reinforcing them with excuses. Not my place, I'd tell myself, folding laundry with sharp, jerky motions. Let them live their lie. Yet, in keeping it, I found a twisted strength. It fueled my resolve to be better for Jackson. Extra hugs, more game nights, proving we didn't need their approval. The success of hiding it was bittersweet. No explosions, but a constant ache. I'd catch myself staring at family photos on the fridge, Maya's wedding pic prominent, and feel the secret pulse like a heartbeat. It changed how I saw them all, fragile, hypocritical. And now at the shower, with Maya's toast mocking my life, that secret simmered closer to the surface. Jackson squeezed my hand again, his eyes meeting mine, knowing. He knew the truth too, carrying it with me. As the crowd dispersed for games, I wondered how much longer we could hold it in. The air felt charged, like a storm about to break. The crowd began to scatter toward the lawn games Maya had set up. Pin the pacifier on the baby, a diaper relay race, things that were supposed to be fun but felt like another stage for performance. I lingered by the table, picking at a napkin, shredding its edges into tiny pieces that fluttered to the ground like confetti I didn't want. Jackson pulled at my arm gently. "Come on, Mom, they want us to join." His voice was hesitant, eyes darting to where my mother was already organizing teams, her efficient gestures pulling everyone in. I nodded, forcing my feet to move, but every step felt like wading through mud. Why had I come? This morning's reluctance flooded back, sharp and fresh, as if the hours leading up to this hadn't already drained me. It started with the alarm buzzing at 7 a.m., sunlight filtering through my bedroom curtains in thin, accusing stripes. I hit snooze twice, lying there staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, my stomach churning at the thought of the day ahead. The invitation to Maya's baby shower had sat on my kitchen counter for weeks, its pink envelope a constant reminder. Family celebration, it read in curly script, but I knew better. It was another arena for comparison, where my life would be weighed and found lacking. I rolled over, burying my face in the pillow, but Jackson's voice from the hall snapped me out. "Mom, we're going, right? Aunt Maya said there'd be games." He stood in the doorway, already dressed in his best shirt, the one with the collar that itched him. His eagerness twisted the knife. He still saw family as something whole, not the fractured thing it was. I dragged myself up, muscles protesting, and shuffled to the closet. What to wear? Nothing too flashy, they'd call it trying too hard. Nothing too casual, they'd say I didn't care. I pulled out the navy dress, the same one I'd worn to last year's holiday dinner, ironing it with short, angry strokes. The steam rose in puffs, mirroring my building frustration. As I pressed the fabric, my mind raced through the script I knew by heart. Smiles for photos, nods at their stories, bites of tongue when the jabs came. "You're so strong doing it alone," they'd say, but the subtext was always, "Poor choice, poor you." And now, with the secret about David clawing at me, it felt impossible. How could I stand there, toasting to their perfect life, knowing it was built on sand? Jackson wandered in, holding his shoes. "Do I have to wear these? They're tight." I knelt to tie them, my fingers fumbling the laces. "Just for today, buddy, it'll be over soon." He watched me, his head tilted. "You don't want to go, do you?" "Kids see everything." I straightened, smoothing his hair. "It's family, we show up." But inside, I wanted to cancel, to fake a migraine or car trouble. The secret made it worse. Every time I thought of David, my jaw clenched, teeth grinding. I'd almost told Maya last month after a family call where she bragged about their anniversary trip. But I swallowed it, hanging up with shaking hands. Today, though, with her pregnancy glow and the family's adoration at peak, the hidden truth felt like a bomb ticking in my chest. I moved to the kitchen, packing a small gift, a handmade blanket I'd crocheted late nights after Jackson slept. My hooks had flown furiously, each stitch a release for the anger bubbling since discovering David's other life. As I wrapped it, tissue paper crinkling under my fingers, I paused, staring at the pattern. Blues and grays, nothing pink like the shower theme. Another misfit. Jackson helped tape it, his tape dispenser clicking. "Think she'll like it?" "Sure," I lied, my voice tight. We ate breakfast in silence, cereal for him, coffee for me, black and bitter. I scrolled my phone absent-mindedly, avoiding texts from Mom. "Don't be late, Maya's excited." Excited to shine, I thought, setting the mug down hard enough to slosh liquid over the rim. Getting ready escalated the dread. In the bathroom, I applied makeup with careful dabs, covering the dark circles from another sleepless night, replaying the park scene in my head. David's laugh with that other woman, the child's hand in his. It haunted me. I brushed my hair, yanking through knots, wincing but not stopping. Jackson called from the living room. "5 minutes, Mom?" I slipped on earrings, simple studs, nothing like Maya's flashy ones. Looking in the mirror, I practiced my smile, lips up, eyes crinkled, but it faltered. "You can do this," I whispered, but my reflection looked unconvinced. The drive over was tense, traffic lights seemed to mock me, turning red just as I approached. Jackson chatted about school, but I responded in monosyllables, gripping the wheel. "What's wrong?" he asked finally. "Just nervous," I admitted, glancing at him. He nodded, too wise for 12. "Because of how they treat you?" My throat closed. I couldn't lie. "Yeah, but we'll be okay." Pulling into Maya's driveway, cars already lining the street, my heart hammered. I turned off the engine, keys jingling in my shaky hand. "Ready?" Jackson unbuckled. "Yep." But I wasn't. Sitting there, I considered driving away, inventing an excuse later. The secret pulsed, urging me to spill it now, end the charade. But for Jackson, for the illusion of family, I opened the door. The walk to the backyard felt eternal, my heels clicking on the pavement like a countdown. Now, at the games, that morning's reluctance surged back as Mom waved me over. "Camila, join Maya's team, she needs her sister." Her tone was bright, but her eyes said obligation. I forced a nod, positioning myself beside Maya, who beamed. "Glad you made it, sis. Wouldn't be the same without you." Her hand patted my arm, condescending. As the relay started, passing fake diapers filled with candy, I fumbled my hand off, dropping it to laughter. "Classic Camila," my cousin snickered. My cheeks burned, fists clenching at my sides. Jackson, on the sidelines, shot me a thumbs up, but his smile was strained. The favoritism peaked here. Cheers for Maya's perfect toss, sympathy clucks for my miss. And the secret? It loomed larger, my hidden turmoil making every laugh feel like a lie. I wanted to scream it, shatter the facade, but I played along, passing the next diaper with gritted teeth, the storm inside raging closer to the surface. The diaper relay wrapped up with Maya's team declared the winners, of course, amid cheers and hugs that felt as scripted as a bad sitcom. I stepped back from the group, wiping my hands on my dress as if I could brush off the embarrassment of my fumble, but the sticky residue of their laughter clung to me. Jackson trotted over, his face flushed from cheering on the sidelines, and slipped his hand into mine again. "You did good, Mom," he whispered, but his eyes told me he knew it wasn't about the game. The family milled around, refilling plates and glasses, the air buzzing with that post-activity energy. But for me, it was the start of the real gauntlet. The wave of condescending questions and backhanded compliments that always followed, each one designed to highlight Maya's shine while dimming mine. It began innocently enough, or so it seemed, with Aunt Carla sidling up as I reached for a cupcake from the dessert spread. She was Mom's sister, all floral prints and judgmental squints, her plate balanced precariously in one hand. "Camila, honey, it's so nice you could make it," she said, her voice dripping with that false sweetness, like honey over vinegar. She eyed my simple dress again, her gaze lingering on the hem where a thread had come loose. "You look comfortable. Maya, though, doesn't she just glow? Pregnancy suits her so well, especially with David by her side." I nodded, forcing my lips into a smile, my fingers crumbling the cupcake liner. "Yeah, she does." But Aunt Carla wasn't done. She leaned in closer, her perfume overwhelming, a cloying floral that made my nose twitch. Must be tough watching her hit all these milestones. "You know, if you'd settled down sooner, you might be here with a little one on the way too. Jackson's great, but a husband makes all the difference." I felt my cheeks heat, my free hand clenching at my side, nails digging crescents into my palm. Jackson shifted beside me, his grip tightening, but he stayed quiet, his eyes fixed on the ground. I wanted to snap back to tell her that Jackson was my milestone, that raising him alone had made me stronger than any ring on my finger. But I swallowed it, murmuring, "We're doing just fine." She patted my arm, her touch light but patronizing, like petting a stray dog. "Of course you are, dear, but look at Maya, stable job, beautiful home, it's inspiring, isn't it?" She wandered off toward the gift table, leaving me standing there, the cupcake turning to ash in my mouth. Before I could catch my breath, Uncle Mike joined in, ambling over with a beer in hand, his belly straining against his polo shirt. He'd always been the joker of the family, but his humor cut deep. "Camila, there you are, saw you in that relay close one, eh?" He chuckled, slapping my back a bit too hard, making me jolt. Jackson flinched beside me. "Maya nailed it though. Girl's got it all, brains, beauty, and now a baby. You holding up okay? I mean, single parenting's no picnic. If you need tips on finding a good man like David, I know a guy." His laugh boomed, drawing glances from nearby cousins who smirked behind their hands. I forced a chuckle, my throat tight, adjusting my stance to shield Jackson a little. "Thanks, but we're good." He raised his bottle in a mock toast. "Suit yourself, but seriously, Maya's setting the bar high. Makes you wonder what could have been if you'd played your cards right." He winked, then sauntered away, leaving the air thick with his implication that my life was a series of wrong turns, while Maya's was a straight path to glory. The barrage kept coming, relentless, like waves crashing without pause. Cousin Lisa, the one who'd commented earlier, cornered me by the punch bowl as I ladled a drink for Jackson. Her hair was perfectly curled, her makeup flawless, everything about her screaming effort to match Maya's vibe. "Oh, Camila, pouring your own punch? David would have done that for you if—" She trailed off, her eyes wide with fake innocence. "Anyway, Maya's so lucky, her nursery is going to be gorgeous. Did she show you the plans? All custom. Must be nice to afford that." I handed Jackson his cup, my hand steady despite the tremble inside. He sipped quietly, watching Lisa with narrowed eyes. "Sounds great," I said flatly. She tilted her head, her voice dropping to that conspiratorial whisper. "You know, if you ever need help with Jackson, daycare or whatever, let us know. We all worry about you scraping by as a freelancer. Maya's got security, it's peace of mind." Her smile was all sympathy, but it stung like salt in a wound. I bit my lip, tasting blood, and nodded. "Appreciate it." Even Mom piled on, pulling me aside near the photo booth where Polaroids of Maya and David beamed from a string of lights. Her hands fidgeted with her necklace, a habit when she was about to advise. "Camila, I'm glad you're here, but try to mingle more. Everyone's so happy for Maya, her life's coming together perfectly. Yours could too if you'd focus on finding stability instead of, well, you know." She glanced at Jackson, who was pretending to study a balloon. "He's a sweet boy, but he needs a father figure. Look at how David dotes on Maya." My chest constricted, breath shallow. "Mom, Jackson has me, that's enough." She sighed, shaking her head. "It's not the same, dear, Maya's showing us how it's done." She squeezed my shoulder, then moved on to hug Maya, leaving me reeling. Each comment layered on, building a wall of contempt that made the backyard feel smaller, suffocating. I'd endure them one by one, my responses clipped, my body language closed, arms crossed, eyes averted. Jackson stuck close, his presence a silent support, but I could see the toll on him, his shoulders hunching. The family's emphasis on Maya's superiority was unyielding. Her marriage, her home, her impending motherhood. All crowns I lacked. David's name dropped constantly, the perfect husband, while my single status was a flaw to poke at. I avoided looking at him, chatting with guests across the yard, his secret burning in my mind. By the time the group reconvened for the gift opening, my nerves were frayed, smiles brittle. Maya sat in her throne-like chair, radiant, as the family oohed and ahed. I clutched Jackson's hand, bracing for whatever came next, the gauntlet far from over. The gift opening began with a flourish. Maya perched in her oversized wicker chair adorned with ribbons and flowers like a queen on her throne, her pregnant belly the centerpiece of it all. I stood at the edge of the circle, Jackson pressed against my side, his fingers intertwined with mine in a grip that was starting to ache from how tightly we held on. The family formed a loose semicircle around her, passing packages wrapped in shiny paper, each one eliciting gasps and coos as she tore them open. Tiny outfits, plush toys, a high-end stroller from Mom and Dad. I watched her hands flutter over each item, her nails perfectly manicured, lifting them high for approval. "Oh, this is perfect for our little one," she'd say, her voice lilting, eyes sparkling under the string lights. David hovered nearby, his arm draped casually over the back of her chair, smiling that polished grin that now made my skin crawl. Knowing what I knew. My gift was near the bottom of the pile, the blanket I'd crocheted, wrapped modestly in plain tissue. As the stack dwindled, my pulse quickened, a steady thrum in my ears that drowned out the chatter. Jackson shifted his weight, his sneaker scuffing the grass, and whispered, "When do we give yours?" I squeezed his hand. "Soon." But dread pooled in my gut. I could already imagine the lukewarm response, the way it'd be overshadowed by the pricier items. Finally, Mom handed it to her, announcing brightly, "This one's from Camila and Jackson." Maya's eyes flicked to me, her smile tightening just a fraction, noticeable only because I knew her so well, the slight curl at the corner of her mouth, like she was humoring a child. She unwrapped it slowly, the tissue crinkling under her fingers, revealing the soft folds of the blanket. Blues and grays, hand-stitched with care during those late nights when the secret about David kept me awake, each loop a way to channel my frustration. The family leaned in, waiting. Maya held it up, turning it this way and that, her brow furrowing ever so slightly. "Oh, a blanket! How thoughtful!" Her tone was flat, the word thoughtful stretched thin, like it pained her to say it. She draped it over her lap briefly, then folded it aside, stacking it under a pile of designer onesies. "Thanks, sis. It's unique." Laughter rippled through the group, light at first but gaining momentum as Aunt Carla chimed in. "Well, it's the thought that counts, right? Though Maya, with your nursery theme being all pastels, this might clash a bit." More chuckles, heads nodding in agreement. I felt the heat rise in my face, my ears burning as I stood there exposed. Jackson's hand went slack in mine for a second, then tightened again, his nails digging in. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with that mix of confusion and anger only a kid can have. I forced a smile down at him, but it wobbled. "It's okay," I mouthed. But it wasn't. The dismissal stung, a fresh cut on old scars. Maya, sensing the moment, leaned back in her chair, one hand rubbing her belly in slow circles, drawing all eyes back to her. "Really, Camila, it's sweet. But you know, gifts like this remind me how different our lives are. I mean, David and I can afford the best for our baby because we've built something stable. Together." She emphasized together, her gaze locking on mine, sharp and unyielding. David shifted beside her, his smile faltering for a split second, but he recovered, patting her shoulder. The family murmured agreement, their nods like synchronized pendulums. Uncle Mike piped up, his voice booming. "That's right. Marriage makes all the difference. Camila, maybe next time you'll have a husband to help pick out something fancier." Laughter again, louder this time, a wave that crashed over me. My cousin Lisa added, "Yeah, it's hard being single, huh? No one to share the load or the shopping." They were piling on now, the comments escalating from subtle digs to outright mockery, the group's energy feeding off each other. Mom stayed silent at first, twisting her napkin in her lap, but then she sighed loudly. Maya's just being honest, Camila. We've all thought it. Your choices, they've held you back. Look at her. She's got it all. Maya, emboldened, sat up straighter, her chair creaking under the shift. Exactly. I mean, come on, Camila, at 34, still no husband. No wonder you're struggling. Jackson's sweet, but he deserves a real family, not this, whatever it is. She gestured vaguely at us, her hand waving dismissively. The words landed like a slap, my breath catching in my throat. Jackson stiffened, his body going rigid beside me, his free hand balling into a fist at his side. The family fell quiet for a beat, then erupted in whispers. She's right. About time someone said it. Poor kid. It was a collective shaming, their eyes on me like spotlights, isolating us in the middle of the backyard. David cleared his throat trying to steer. Hey, let's not, but Maya cut him off with a laugh, brittle and cruel. No, David, it's true. She's been the family embarrassment for years, single mom scraping by. Meanwhile, we're thriving. Maybe it's time we stop pretending she's part of this. The verdict hung there, unspoken but clear. I was being cut off, emotionally if not literally, from their perfect circle. Aunt Carla nodded vigorously. We've enabled it too long. Camila, you need to figure your life out. Away from us, if that's what it takes. Uncle Mike crossed his arms. Yeah, no more handouts or invites if you're just gonna drag the mood down. Mom finally spoke, her voice firm. We've tried, Camila, but Maya's right. You're not like us anymore. The isolation was complete, the family closing ranks around Maya, their backs turning subtly, conversations restarting without us. I stood frozen, my heart hammering, tears pricking my eyes but refusing to fall. Jackson tugged my hand, his voice a fierce whisper. Mom? But I couldn't respond. The humiliation crashing down, each micro-rejection, a averted gaze, a shuffled foot, building to this breaking point. The air felt thick, charged, as if the secret I'd buried was rising, ready to erupt. The whispers died down as Maya leaned forward in her chair, her eyes still locked on mine, triumphant, like she'd finally voiced what everyone had been thinking for years. The family's agreement hung heavy in the air, a silent wall closing in around Jackson and me, making the backyard feel like a courtroom where I'd just been sentenced. I stood there, my legs rooted to the spot, the grass cool under my heels that had sunk in slightly from standing too long. My hand in Jackson's was slick with sweat now, both of ours, but neither of us let go. He was trembling, not from fear, but from something building inside him. I could feel it in the way his fingers twitched, the subtle shift in his stance as he straightened his back. The humiliation peaked in that moment, raw and unrelenting, with every eye on us, waiting for my reaction, my surrender. David cleared his throat again, louder this time, his face paling under the tan he'd gotten from whatever business trips he took. Maya, maybe that's enough, he murmured, his hand dropping from her shoulder, fingers flexing nervously at his side. But she waved him off, her laugh sharp, cutting through the tension like a knife. No, David, it's not. Camila needs to hear it. She's been riding on our coattails forever, the invites, the holidays, all while judging us silently. Single, struggling, and now embarrassing us at my shower? It's time she goes her own way. The family nodded along, some crossing their arms, others averting their eyes but not intervening. Aunt Carla murmured, We've been too kind, and Uncle Mike grunted in agreement, his beer bottle dangling forgotten from his fingers. My throat closed up, words failing me as tears threatened to spill. I'd endured their jabs before, but this was different, a formal disowning. Right here amid the pastel decorations and half-eaten cake. Jackson's breathing quickened beside me, his chest rising and falling in short bursts. I glanced down at him, my heart breaking at the fury in his eyes, so young but so protective. Mom, he started, his voice low, but I shook my head subtly, not wanting him to get dragged into this. It's fine, I whispered, though it wasn't. Nothing was fine. The secret about David flashed in my mind, a lifeline I could grab, but I hesitated. Spilling it now would make me the villain, the one who ruined the day. Better to walk away, head high, and deal with the fallout later. But Jackson had other ideas. He yanked his hand from mine suddenly, stepping forward into the circle, his small frame cutting through the adult murmurs like a shot. The family turned, surprised, as if they'd forgotten he was there. Stop it, he shouted, his voice cracking but strong, echoing across the yard. Maya blinked, her smug expression faltering for the first time. "Jackson, sweetie, this is adult talk," she said, her tone condescending like she was scolding a toddler. David shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting to Jackson, then away, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed hard. But Jackson didn't back down. He planted his feet, fists clenched at his sides, his face red with emotion. "No, you're all mean to my mom all the time. You say Aunt Maya's perfect, but she's not." The yard went silent, the only sound the distant hum of a neighbor's lawnmower. Mom leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "Jackson, that's not nice. Apologize." But he ignored her, his gaze fixed on Maya and David. I reached for his shoulder, my hand hovering, whispering, "Buddy, let's go." But he shrugged me off gently, his determination breaking my heart and filling it at the same time. This was my boy, the one I'd raised to stand up for what's right, even if it meant facing down the family that had sidelined us. "You all think Uncle David's so great," Jackson continued, his voice gaining strength, each word deliberate. "But he's not. I saw him, with another lady and a kid, at the park. They were acting like a family." Gasps rippled through the group, sharp and involuntary. Maya's face drained of color, her hand freezing on her belly, fingers splaying wide. "What, Jackson, that's ridiculous. You're making things up." But her voice wavered, eyes flicking to David, who had gone rigid. His smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure panic. He stepped back slightly, his shoe crunching a fallen napkin, the sound amplified in the hush. "Kid, you must have seen wrong," he stammered, his hands raising in a placating gesture, palms out. But Jackson wasn't done. He pulled out his phone from his pocket, the one I'd given him for emergencies, with strict rules, and held it up, his thumb swiping the screen. "No, I took pictures. Look." He thrust the phone toward Maya, but she recoiled, her chair scraping back. The family leaned in, craning necks, murmurs turning to shocked whispers. "What is he talking about?" "David?" I stood frozen, my breath caught as Jackson narrated, his voice steady now, fueled by months of pent-up frustration. It was months ago. He was pushing the girl on a swing, calling her sweetie. The lady kissed him, it's not a mistake. He zoomed in on the photos, the ones I'd seen, and begged him to delete, but he'd kept them, my little guardian. David lunged forward, trying to grab the phone, but Uncle Mike held him back, his face darkening. "Let us see, David." The phone passed around, hands trembling as they held it. Mom's eyes widened, her necklace clutched tight. Aunt Carla covered her mouth. Maya's composure shattered. She stood abruptly, her chair tipping over with a thud, ribbons fluttering to the ground. This can't be," she whispered, but her eyes on David screamed betrayal. He backed away further, his tie suddenly askew, sweat beading on his forehead. "Maya, it's not what it looks like, I can explain." But the damage was done. The secret exploded, shifting everything, their judgment of me turning inward, questions flying. "How long? Who is she? A child?" Jackson stepped back to me, his mission complete, slipping his hand into mine again. I pulled him close, my arm around his shoulders, pride and fear mixing in my chest. The family's facade crumbled before my eyes, Maya's tears starting to fall, David's excuses stumbling out. In that instant of deepest humiliation, my son's bravery changed it all, exposing the rot they'd hidden while condemning me. The dynamic flipped, their perfection in ruins, and for the first time I felt seen, not as the outcast, but as the one who'd been right all along. The yard fell into a stunned hush after Jackson's words, the phone still circulating like a hot coal no one wanted to hold too long, each family member's face twisting in disbelief as they zoomed in on the photos. Maya's chair lay tipped over behind her, forgotten, as she staggered forward a step, her hand outstretched toward David, fingers curling into claws before dropping limp at her side. "Explain," she hissed, her voice breaking, the glow of pregnancy replaced by a pallor that made her look years older in an instant. David backed up further, his polished shoes scuffing the grass, hands raised higher now, palms slick with sweat that I could see glistening even from where I stood. "Baby, it's complicated. She was from before us? A mistake, I didn't know about the kid until later." His excuses tumbled out, weak and rehearsed, his eyes darting everywhere but at her, or at me, knowing I'd held this bomb for months. The family erupted then, a scramble of voices overlapping in chaos. Mom clutched the phone now, her necklace forgotten as she scrolled frantically, tears welling in her eyes. "David, how could you? We've trusted you." Aunt Carla spun on him, her floral dress whipping around her legs, finger jabbing the air. A whole other family? While Maya's carrying your child? You're disgusting. Uncle Mike set his beer down hard on a table, the bottle teetering before righting itself, and grabbed David's collar, yanking him close. You son of a... We've bragged about you for years. Perfect this, stable that. What about the trips, the late nights? Whispers turned to shouts, accusations flying. How long have you been lying? Does she know? What about the money? Our gifts for your home? Cousins clustered, phones out now, snapping their own photos of the evidence, murmurs of, I knew something was off, and poor Maya shifting from sympathy for her to outrage at him. In the midst of it, Jackson pressed back against me, his body relaxing slightly now that the truth was out, but his breathing still ragged, like he'd run a marathon. I wrapped my arm tighter around his shoulders, feeling the rapid beat of his heart through his shirt, my own pulse steadying as the weight of the secret lifted. For the first time that day I didn't feel small. Their scramble exposed the cracks I'd always seen, but they'd ignored. Maya turned to me then, her eyes wild, mascara starting to streak. You knew? Jackson said months ago. You both knew and didn't tell me? The family quieted a fraction, heads swiveling my way, their stunned expressions mixing with fresh accusation. Mom gasped, Camila, is that true? You let this happen? I straightened, my chin lifting, the grass under my heels feeling firmer now. No more shrinking, no more swallowing their barbs. Yes, I knew, I said, my voice calm, cutting through the tension like a steady breeze. Jackson looked up at me, his eyes shining with pride, giving me the last push I needed. Jackson saw it first, told me. I struggled with it, every day, wondering if I should say something. But look at you all. I gestured slowly, my hands sweeping the circle, taking in their frozen faces. Aunt Carla's finger lowered, Uncle Mike released David's collar with a shove, making him stumble. You've spent years judging me for being single, for raising Jackson alone, calling it a mistake, an embarrassment, praising Maya and David as the ideal, stable, perfect. But it was all a lie. David's been living a double life, and you worshipped him for it. Maya flinched, her hands cradling her belly protectively, but I kept going, my words measured, each one landing like a stone in still water. Hypocrisy, that's what this is. You disown me today for not fitting your mold, but your golden boy here? I nodded at David, who shrank under the glare, his tie askew, sweat dripping down his temple. He's the real fraud. And Maya, you mocked me for not having a husband but yours? He's got another family stashed away. How's that for stability? The family shifted uncomfortably, feet shuffling, eyes dropping to the ground, Mom twisting her hands, cousins pocketing their phones. No one defended him now. The scramble turned inward, their facade crumbling as they realized how blind they'd been. You all enabled this, I continued, my tone even, no yelling, just truth. Every time you overlooked my efforts, celebrated their perfection, you built this lie. Jackson and I, we're real. I've worked my butt off, alone to give him a good life. No secrets, no double standards, but you've been fake, pitying me while ignoring the rot in your idols. Jackson nodded beside me, his fist unclenching as he stood taller. Maya sobbed openly now, collapsing back into a cousin's arms, her white dress smudged with grass. David tried to approach her, but Uncle Mike blocked him, arm outstretched. Get out, he growled. The family murmured agreement, their outrage redirecting, but I wasn't done. And now you want answers from me after what you said today? No, I'm done being your punching bag. I took a deep breath, the jasmine scent from earlier now mixed with the sharp tang of spilled punch, grounding me. We're leaving. Not because you're cutting us off, but because we deserve better. I turned to Jackson, ruffling his hair gently. Ready, buddy? He grinned, small but genuine. Yeah. We started walking, my heels pulling free from the grass with each step, the family's stunned silence following us. Mom called out, Camila, wait, we didn't know. But I didn't stop, my hand in Jackson's, our strides matching. Aunt Carla stammered, please let's talk, but her voice faded as we rounded the house. David shouted something incoherent, a plea maybe, but it bounced off me like rain on a window. At the car, I unlocked the doors with a beep, sliding in as Jackson buckled up. I glanced in the rear view, seeing the backyard chaos spilling over, figures gesturing wildly, Maya huddled, David isolated. Starting the engine, I felt a powerful release, like shedding a heavy coat. We drove off, the house shrinking in the mirror, My exit not dramatic but resolute. No slammed doors, just a calm walk away from their hypocrisy, leaving them to scramble in the mess they'd made. For the first time, I breathed freely, the road ahead open, Jackson's hand reaching for mine over the console. The drive home felt like emerging from a fog, the suburban streets blurring past as I eased off the gas, letting the car coast on the quiet road. Jackson sat beside me, his seatbelt clicked securely, staring out the window with a mix of exhaustion and quiet triumph etched on his young face. His hand still rested on the console, fingers occasionally drumming a soft rhythm, a habit he had when processing big emotions. I reached over, covering his hand with mine, feeling the warmth of his skin against my palm, a simple connection that grounded me after the chaos we'd left behind. The radio hummed low, some old pop song I didn't recognize, but it filled the silence without demanding attention. We didn't speak much at first, words weren't needed yet. But as we turned onto our street, the familiar sight of our modest apartment building coming into view, its brick facade lit by the late afternoon sun, I felt the tension in my shoulders start to uncoil, thread by thread. Pulling into our parking spot, the engine ticked as it cooled, and Jackson unbuckled, turning to me with a small smile. "We did it, Mom. They're gonna think twice now." His voice was soft, but there was a spark in his eyes, the same one I'd seen when he scored a goal in soccer or finished a tough homework assignment. I nodded, squeezing his hand one last time before we got out. "Yeah, we did, thanks to you, buddy." He shrugged, grabbing his backpack from the back seat, slinging it over one shoulder with a casual But I saw the way his chest puffed out just a little, pride in his posture as we walked up the cracked sidewalk to our door. Unlocking it, the familiar scent of home hit me, lavender from the diffuser I'd left on, mixed with the faint aroma of last night's pasta sauce. It was nothing like Maya's pristine house, but it was ours, real and lived in. Inside, I kicked off my heels by the door, the cool tile soothing against my aching feet, and Jackson did the same, his sneakers thudding beside mine. He headed straight for the kitchen, opening the fridge with a creak, pulling out 2 sodas without asking, our little ritual after tough days. "Want one?" he offered, holding it out, the can sweating condensation already. I took it, popping the tab with a satisfying hiss, and we clinked them together in a mock toast. "To us," I said, my voice lighter than it had been all day. He grinned, taking a sip, bubbles fizzing on his upper lip. We moved to the living room, sinking into the worn couch, the cushions molding to our shapes like old friends. Jackson curled up beside me, his head leaning on my shoulder, a gesture he hadn't outgrown yet, and I wrapped an arm around him, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. It was in that quiet moment, the soda cans cooling our hands, that the contrast hit me hard, the toxic whirlwind of the shower versus this genuine warmth with my true ally, my son. Back there, every interaction had been laced with judgment. Maya's smug glances, Mom's disappointed sighs, the family's collective nods that made me feel like an intruder in my own bloodline. Their love was conditional, doled out based on how well you fit the mold. Marriage, stability, perfection. But here, with Jackson, it was effortless, unconditional. He didn't care about my single status or our small apartment. He saw me as Mom, flaws and all, and loved me fiercely for it. I ran my fingers through his hair, soft and slightly damp from the day's humidity, and he didn't pull away, just nestled closer. We started talking then, really talking, the words flowing easy like they always did between us. "You were brave today," I said, setting my soda on the coffee table, the ring of condensation spreading slowly on the wood. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine, searching. "I hated how they talked to you, like you're not good enough. But you are, the best." His words were simple, but they mended something inside me, a stitch in the fabric of my heart that the family's barbs had torn. I hugged him tighter, my chin resting on his head. "And you're the best kid a mom could ask for. You didn't have to do that, but you did. For us." He nodded, his shoulders shrugging under my arm. "Family should stick up for each other, not like them, always picking on you while ignoring Uncle David's stuff." The mention of David brought a flicker of the shower's chaos back, Maya's crumbling facade, the family's scrambling accusations. But here it felt distant, like a storm we'd weathered together. Jackson shifted, pulling his knees up, his soft feet tucked under him. "Remember last summer when we went to the lake? Just us and Aunt Lena? Aunt Lena wasn't blood, she was my best friend from college, the one who'd shown up with ice cream after tough days, who babysat Jackson when I had deadlines. She'd become our chosen family, no strings attached. Yeah, I replied, smiling at the memory. No drama, just swimming in s'mores. He laughed, a genuine sound that filled the room. Exactly, that's real family, not the yelling and fake smiles. As the evening light slanted through the blinds, casting striped shadows on the carpet, we kept chatting about school, his latest video game level, my next design project. Jackson animated his stories with hand gestures, his fingers slicing the air as he described a boss fight. And I listened, really listened, nodding and asking questions without the undercurrent of criticism I'd grown up with. No backhanded compliments here, no comparisons. When hunger hit, we made dinner together, simple tacos, him chopping veggies with careful slices, me browning the meat, our elbows bumping in the tiny kitchen. Laughter bubbled up when he dropped a tomato slice, chasing it across the floor on his knees. This was the warmth I'd craved at the shower, the authenticity missing from those blood ties. Later, as we ate at the table, plates clinking softly, Jackson paused mid-bite, his fork hovering. Do you think they'll apologize? I chewed slowly, considering, the spice lingering on my tongue. Maybe. But even if they don't, we've got each other, and people like Lena, who actually care. He nodded, resuming his meal, content. The contrast sharpened in my mind, the shower's forced cheer, everyone orbiting Maya like satellites, versus this. Two people, connected by choice and love, building something real. Jackson wasn't just my son, he was my ally, my chosen family, proving blood didn't define bonds. As night fell, we cleaned up side-by-side dishes rinsing under the faucet, suds popping, and I felt a deep gratitude for this moment, the sanctuary we'd created away from the toxicity. As the last dish dried on the rack, water droplets trailing down its edges before I wiped them away with a towel, the quiet of our apartment settled in like a comforting blanket. Jackson yawned, stretching his arms overhead, his shirt riding up slightly to show the edge of his pajama pants. Bedtime? He asked, though it was more a statement, his eyes heavy from the day's emotional roller coaster. I nodded, folding the towel neatly and hanging it on the oven handle. Yeah, buddy, big day tomorrow. School for you, designs for me. He shuffled off to brush his teeth, the bathroom light flicking on with a soft click, leaving me alone in the kitchen. I leaned against the counter, my palms pressing into the cool laminate, staring at the fridge magnets, souvenirs from trips we'd taken together, just the two of us. The peace from our evening lingered, but I knew it wouldn't last. The family's scramble at the shower was just the beginning. They'd come crawling back, apologies laced with excuses, trying to pull us into their mess. I straightened, rolling my shoulders to release the knot forming there, determined not to let them in without new rules. The calls started the next morning, right as I sipped my coffee, the mug warm in my hands, steam curling up to fog my glasses slightly. Jackson was already out the door, backpack slung over his shoulder, waving from the bus stop visible through the window. I watched him board, the bus doors hissing shut, before my phone buzzed on the table, vibrating against the wood. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the decline button, but curiosity, or maybe a need for closure, won out. I answered, putting it on speaker so I could pace the small living room, my socks whispering over the carpet. Camila, she started, her voice thick like she'd been crying. We need to talk. What happened yesterday? It's a shock. David's gone. Maya kicked him out last night. She's devastated. I stopped pacing, leaning against the wall, the paint cool through my shirt. I'm sorry for her pain, Mom, but not for the truth coming out. She sighed, the sound ragged over the line. You knew for months. Why didn't you say something? Her tone shifted, accusatory, as if I was the one at fault. I clenched the phone tighter, my knuckles whitening. Because every time I opened my mouth, you all shut me down, judged me, mocked me. Why would I trust you with something that big? Silence stretched, broken only by her uneven breathing. Then, please come over. Maya wants to see you. We all do. Family sticks together. I laughed, short and bitter, pushing off the wall to resume pacing. Now? After disowning me in front of everyone? No, Mom, things change now. She pressed, her voice rising. Camila, don't be like this. We're hurting. Jackson exposed it all. He's just a kid, but you should have controlled him. That lit a fire in me. I stopped dead, my free hand balling into a fist at my side. Controlled him? He stood up for me when none of you did. For years you've praised Maya's perfect life while tearing mine apart. Single mom, embarrassment, remember? Well, I'm done. If you want any relationship, it's on my terms. She stammered. What terms? I took a deep breath, the air filling my lungs steadily, grounding me. First, no more judgments. No comments on my life, my choices, Jackson. Second, apologies. From everyone, sincere ones, acknowledging how you've treated us. Third, space. I decide when and how we interact. No showing up uninvited, no guilt trips. Mom went quiet, then whispered, That's harsh, Camila. We're family. I shook my head, though she couldn't see. Blood doesn't excuse toxicity. I've protected Jackson from it long enough. Call back when you're ready to agree. I hung up, the phone clicking off, and set it down with a deliberate thud. My heart raced, but not from fear, from empowerment. I wiped my palms on my jeans, the fabric rough under my fingers, and sat at my desk, opening my laptop to dive into work. Designs flowed easier that morning, my mouse clicking through layers, colors blending seamlessly as if my mind was clearer without their weight. But the attempts didn't stop. By afternoon, texts flooded in. Aunt Carla, let's talk, dear. We were wrong. Uncle Mike, David's the villain here. Come to dinner. Even Maya, her message shaky. Sis, I need you, please. I read them one by one, my thumb scrolling slowly, each ping making my phone light up on the desk. Jackson texted from school. Any calls? I replied. Handled. Love you. Setting boundaries felt like building a fortress, brick by brick. Each response I crafted was measured, reinforcing the walls. To Aunt Carla I typed, apology first, admit the hypocrisy. To Uncle Mike, no dinners until everyone owns their part. To Maya, I'm sorry for your hurt, but your words yesterday cut deep, space for now. As evening approached, the doorbell rang, startling me from my work. I peered through the peephole, seeing Mom standing there, her coat clutched tight, face drawn. I opened the door a crack, chain still latched. Mom, I said, space. She held up a bag, takeout from our favorite place, steam escaping the top. Just to talk, please. I unlatched but stood firm in the doorway, arms crossed. 5 minutes. She stepped in, setting the bag down, her hands wringing together. Camila, we're reeling. Maya's alone now, pregnant. David confessed. It's been 5 years, another child. We idolized him, ignored you. I'm sorry. Her eyes met mine, tears brimming. I nodded, but didn't soften. That's a start, but it's not just words. Change how you treat us. No more comparisons, no pity. Jackson and I are a family. Respect that. She nodded vigorously, wiping her cheek. We will, whatever it takes. I handed her the bag back gently. Good. But go now. We'll talk more when I'm ready. She left, shoulders slumped, the door clicking shut behind her. I locked it, leaning against the wood, feeling the grain under my fingertips. Prioritizing my healing meant this, firm limits, navigating their reconciliation without rushing. Jackson came home soon after, dropping his bag with a thump. Grandma? He asked, sniffing the air. I explained, and he hugged me, his arms strong. Good job, Mom. We ate leftovers instead, laughing over TV, my new boundaries a shield, allowing healing to begin on our terms. The days following the shower's fallout blurred into a rhythm of deliberate steps, each one a brick in the fortress I'd started building around Jackson and me. I woke early that next morning, the sun filtering through the blinds in golden slants across the kitchen table, where my laptop sat open from the night before. Jackson was still asleep, his door cracked just enough for me to hear his soft snores, a sound that always anchored me. I poured coffee, the mug steaming as I sat down, my fingers hovering over the keys before diving in. Work had always been my escape, but now it felt like reclamation, turning the pain of years of dismissal into fuel for something bigger. As a freelance graphic designer, I'd scraped by on small gigs, but the emotional clarity from setting boundaries sparked an idea. Why not expand? Create a brand that celebrated single parents, real families, the ones that didn't fit the mold. I started small, sketching logos on a notepad, pencil scratching against the paper in quick, confident strokes. The design was simple, a stylized tree with roots twisting into hearts, symbolizing strength from within. Rooted families, I murmured to myself, the name clicking like a puzzle piece. Jackson wandered in later, rubbing his eyes, hair tousled. What you drawing, Mom? He leaned over my shoulder, his breath warm on my neck. I showed him, explaining the concept. It's for us, and others like us, workshops, designs, maybe even a blog about thriving alone. His eyes lit up, grabbing a pencil to add his own flourish, a small bird on a branch. Cool. Can I help? We spent the morning brainstorming, his ideas flowing freely, kid-friendly graphics, stories from his perspective. It was healing, this collaboration turning our shared pain into purpose. By afternoon I was on calls with potential clients, my voice steady as I pitched expanded services. One was a local nonprofit for single parents. I'd volunteered there before, but now I offered pro bono designs for their flyers. I get it, I told the director, my hand gesturing even though she couldn't see. I've lived it. The judgment, the struggle, let's make something empowering. She agreed, and just like that, a contract landed in my inbox. I printed it, the paper crisp under my fingers as I signed, feeling the weight of independence settle comfortably. No more relying on family handouts or enduring their pity. This was mine, built from the ashes of their hypocrisy. The family kept reaching out, of course, texts pinging intermittently like rain on a window. Maya's was the most frequent. Camila, therapy today, wish you were here. I read them, my thumb scrolling, but responded sparingly. Healing on my own. Glad you're getting help. Mom called once, her voice tentative. We're reevaluating like you said, Maya's filing for divorce, David's gone for good. I listened, stirring soup on the stove, the wooden spoon clinking against the pot. That's progress, but remember the boundaries. She paused, then, we do. Your dad wants to apologize in person. I set the spoon down, wiping my hands on a dish towel. When I'm ready. Hanging up, I felt no guilt, just resolve. Their chaos wasn't mine to fix anymore. Instead, I channeled energy into growth. Evenings, after Jackson's homework, him at the table pencil tapping as he solved math problems, I worked on the blog. Fingers flying over the keyboard, I wrote about the shower, anonymized but raw, the mockery, the exposure, the empowerment of walking away. Family isn't blood, I typed, the cursor blinking. It's the ones who lift you. Jackson read drafts, his feedback honest. Add more about how we rocked it. We laughed, high-fiving across the table, his palm slapping mine with a satisfying smack. Posting the first entry felt vulnerable, but comments rolled in, other single moms sharing stories thanking me. This is me, one wrote. It built momentum, views climbed, and soon affiliate links for design tools brought in extra cash. A week in, I signed up for an online course on business scaling, laptop balanced, on my knees in bed, Jackson asleep next door. The instructor's voice, through headphones, emphasized branding your story. Mine? The overlooked sister who rose above. I applied it, redesigning my portfolio site, clean lines, bold colors, testimonials from clients who'd stuck with me through lean times. One evening, as rain pattered on the window, I got an email. A big agency wanting collaboration. Your authentic voice stands out, they said. I fist-pumped silently, then shared with Jackson over breakfast. We're doing this, I told him, buttering toast, knife scraping evenly. He beamed, crumbs on his chin. Knew we could. The positive impact rippled outward. At Jackson's school, I volunteered for Career Day, standing in front of his class, projector humming as I showed designs. Being a single mom taught me resilience, I said, clicking to the next slide, kids' eyes wide. Jackson sat in the front, chin high, no shame in his gaze. Parents approached after. Inspiring, my sister's going through similar. I handed out cards, my hand steady, no tremble. It reclaimed the family name, not as the perfect one they'd pushed, but as strong, independent. Camila, the one who turned judgment into jet fuel. Even interactions with the family evolved on my terms. When Mom texted about a small gathering, no David, just core group, I considered, fingers pausing over the screen. Only if apologies happen first, I replied. They did, via video call. Mom teary, we were blind, Camila. Your strength, we see it now. Maya, belly rounder, voice soft. I was cruel. Jealous maybe. Forgive me? Aunt Carla and Uncle Mike chimed in, their words halting but sincere. I nodded, screen glowing. Working on it, but no more shade. We set a date, neutral ground, a park picnic. There, under shady trees, they listened as I shared my new ventures. No interruptions, just nods. Jackson played nearby, frisbee sailing, his laughter free. Through it all, personal growth bloomed. Mornings I journaled, pen gliding over pages, processing the pain. Their facade broke me free. Therapy for me and Jackson. Him drawing feelings, me talking through triggers, solidified our bond. We hiked weekends, boots crunching leaves, talking dreams. I want to design games, he said, stick in hand drawing in dirt. You will, I replied, hugging him sideways. Turning pain into independence meant this: a life where our legacy was ours. Positive ripples touching others, the family name redefined by resilience, not perfection. As weeks passed, my business grew. A website launch, first workshop booked. Each milestone a quiet victory, healing the wounds while building something unbreakable. The weeks after launching my website turned into a steady hum of activity, each notification on my phone a new subscriber, a workshop sign-up, feeling like a small affirmation of the path I'd carved. But it was on a quiet Sunday morning, months after the shower's explosion, that everything truly settled inside me, like sediment in a stirred glass of water finally coming to rest. I woke before dawn, the apartment still dark except for the faint glow of streetlights seeping through the curtains. Jackson was at a sleepover with his best friend, the first time in ages I'd had the place to myself overnight. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, listening to the distant hum of traffic, my body heavy with the kind of tiredness that comes from growth, not exhaustion. Slipping out of bed, my feet hit the cool floorboards, toes curling against the chill as I padded to the kitchen. I flicked on the coffee maker, the machine gurgling to life, filling the air with that rich, grounding aroma. While it brewed, I wandered to the living room window, parting the curtains with one hand, the fabric soft and worn under my fingers. Outside, the city was just waking, a jogger passing under the lamps, a dog walker pausing to let their pup sniff a tree. I watched them, my breath fogging the glass slightly, and felt a pull to step out, to clear my head in the crisp air. Grabbing my mug once it was ready, steam rising in lazy swirls, I threw on a sweater, the wool scratching lightly against my skin, and headed to the small balcony. It wasn't much, just a concrete slab with a rickety chair and a potted plant Jackson had insisted on, but it was my spot for thinking. Settling into the chair, its metal frame creaking under my weight, I wrapped my hands around the mug, the heat seeping into my palms, chasing away the morning cold. The sky was lightening now, pinks and oranges bleeding into the blue, and I sipped slowly, the coffee bitter on my tongue, just how I liked it. My mind drifted, unbidden, to the family, to Maya, now navigating single motherhood herself after the divorce, her texts more frequent but softer, asking for advice on nurseries and late-night worries. To Mom, who'd started sending articles on rebuilding family ties, her apologies evolving into tentative invitations for coffee. Even to David, vanished from our lives, his other family now public, the scandal a whisper that had faded. They'd all reached out in their ways, trying to mend what broke that day, and I'd let some in. A park meetup here, a phone call there, on my terms, with boundaries holding firm. But as the sun crested the buildings, casting long shadows across the street below, a deeper realization washed over me, slow and profound, like the dawn itself. It wasn't their apologies or my business successes that brought peace. It was understanding that my worth had always been inside, untethered to their approval. I set the mug down on the balcony's edge, the ceramic clinking softly against the rail, and leaned back, closing my eyes. For years, I'd chased validation from them, twisting myself to fit, enduring the jabs, keeping the peace at my own expense. Every family gathering, I'd scanned faces for a nod, a smile that said, "You're enough." But it never came, not fully, because their lens was warped by their own fears, their need for perfection to mask their cracks. Opening my eyes, I traced a finger along the mug's rim, the steam less vigorous now, cooling in the air. Jackson's face flashed in my mind, his brave stand at the shower, his quiet support since. He'd taught me that real bonds don't demand conformity, they celebrate the mess. And me? I'd built a life from scraps, freelancing through sleepless nights, crocheting blankets as therapy, turning secrets into strength. The pain they'd inflicted, the humiliation at that baby shower, it hadn't defined me, it had revealed me. I stood then, the chair scraping back, and leaned on the rail, looking out over the awakening city. Cars honked faintly, birds chirped from nearby trees, life pulsing forward. My worth wasn't in Maya's shadow or David's facade, it was in the choices I'd made, the solo parenting, the hidden struggles, the decision to walk away and rebuild. Tears pricked my eyes, not from sadness, but release. I wiped them with the back of my hand, the skin salty against my lips as I smiled. Forgiveness crept in then, not for them entirely, but for myself. For the years I'd doubted, for staying silent too long. Maya and I had talked last week, her voice cracking over the phone as she admitted jealousy. You were always so independent, I envied that. I'd listened, my hand twisting the cord, and offered, we're both figuring it out now. It wasn't full reconciliation, but a start, authentic, without the old hierarchies. The family was healing too, reevaluating their values, inviting Jackson and me to events without the undercurrents. But even if they hadn't, I'd be okay. That was the peace. Knowing my value was internal, a quiet flame that no one's shade could extinguish. As the sun climbed higher, warming my face, I picked up the mug, the coffee lukewarm now, and headed inside. The apartment felt different, brighter, more mine. I rinsed the mug in the sink, water rushing over my hands, suds forming and popping. Jackson would be home soon, bursting in with stories from the sleepover, and we'd plan our day, maybe a hike or just lounging with games. Whatever it was, it would be ours, free from external measures. The realization anchored me. Self-validation wasn't a destination but a daily choice, embracing the scars as part of the strength. I dried my hands on a towel, folding it neatly, and glanced at the fridge, where a new magnet held a printout of my website's first testimonial. Camila's designs captured my story perfectly. It was enough, more than enough. Peace settled deep, a calm certainty that I was whole, just as I was. The morning unfolded gently after that. I tidied the living room, fluffing pillows on the couch, their fabric soft under my palms. My phone buzzed. A message from Lena, my chosen sister. Brunch soon? Miss you. I replied yes, thumbs tapping quickly, a grin spreading. Life wasn't perfect, challenges loomed, bills, Jackson's teen years ahead, family ties still mending, but the internal shift made them surmountable. By noon, Jackson burst through the door, backpack dropping with a thud, his energy filling the space. Mom, guess what? We hugged, his arms tight, and as we chatted over lunch, sandwiches assembled side by side, mayo spreading evenly, I shared a bit of my morning thoughts. I realized something today, buddy. We're good, just us. He nodded, mouth full, eyes understanding. That quiet reflection on the balcony had crystallized it. True peace came from within, fostering forgiveness where it fit, and building authentic bonds that honored who we truly were. The sun dipped low that afternoon as Jackson and I wrapped up our day, the apartment bathed in a warm glow that mirrored the quiet contentment settling over us. Looking back on it all, the years of family judgment, the explosive revelation at Maya's shower, and the healing that followed, I can't help but feel a deep sense of closure. It wasn't just about exposing secrets or setting boundaries. It was about reclaiming my voice and realizing that true family is built on authenticity, not perfection. Have you ever felt sidelined by your own family, only to discover your strength in standing alone? It's a tough road, but one that leads to real freedom. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Share how you've navigated similar challenges or what you'd do in my shoes. Your experiences might just inspire someone else going through the same. So what do you think? Did I hold back too much or push just far enough in protecting my peace? Drop a comment below, let's discuss. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of resilience and redemption. Remember, your worth isn't defined by others. It's yours to own and celebrate. Keep shining out there.